Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 16th of April, 2024. Welcome to the new schedule for the CRUSTY podcast. This episode, I basically go over the federal budget or the better budget or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's a poop show, ladies and gentlemen. Listener viewer discussion is advised. I do swear, smoke cigarettes, and I speak my mind and make funny faces and make fun of politicians as we speak. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's CRUSTY.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 271 of the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. I'm your host, CRUSTY, on this beautiful Tuesday evening. Episode 271 is...
Federal budget of bullshit.
Exactly. After watching today's results and seeing more and more of the pitiful display of power that our leaders have, I got nothing out of that budget. And just a reminder too, ladies and gentlemen, if you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe. Share this content all over your social media platforms too. And do not forget that this podcast is also brought to you in part by and supported by the Veterans for Freedom Network. That's right, Stand 2. And coming soon, the Veterans for Freedom Television. That's right. You'll see like-minded individuals as myself, other vets, other people that really care about this country and love and are really concerned with where it's going. So please stay tuned for that coming up. Anyway, I'm your host, CRUSTY CANUCK, and thank you once again out there to all the people that have subscribed and who have given me a thumbs up. My last video, well done, everybody. Well done. Thank you guys, to my new subscribers too. I'm getting a few of them from across the ocean on the Pacific and the Atlantic. So thank you to my German friends. Some of those Russian guys that are against Putin, they've basically sent me an email saying so. Who knows? We'll see. But my guard's up nonetheless. Some of my new German listeners, some more of my American listeners, and some people from, where did I see it? Was Singapore. Yeah. So thank you very much. Another round of applause for others out there too. One more time, if you like to hear what you see, please click and subscribe. And please double check your subscriptions. If you're subscribed to me on the tube, just double check to see if you're still subscribed or not. And please do not hesitate to give me a comment or two once you see this fine podcast, whether it be on Rumble or on YouTube or anywhere else you get your fine podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, this is episode 271. We had our federal budget today. Yes, I don't look really impressed. You can see the arrow. Price of everything going up. Basically, it's all spend, 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 spend. It's like a dance routine. Spend here, spend there, spend everywhere. Who cares? Play with your underwear. It's not too funny, is it? Because we're losing our underwear because of this government's budget. Now, I actually tried to put together some clips, some quips of Miss Freeland's leisurely fucking budget, and you can watch for yourself how condescending she is in the House of Parliament, in the House of Commons, House of the People, how she addresses people. William Shatner would be impressed the amount of pauses she has during her sentences. You know what I mean? Mr. Speaker, you have to understand. Like Mr. Speaker doesn't know, like anybody in that house doesn't know. But the review I have for this budget is not a budget, ladies and gentlemen, just an excuse to spend more money. You see them talking about the national pharmacare, the national child care, more money for disability benefits, more money into their so-called housing projects, not too much for our military. What do you expect, really? You know, and to rebuild our military is not going to take an overnight thing. I understand that. Some of my fellow vets understand that too. But what's going to happen is that people are going to get pissed off, disenfranchised. They're not going to be impressed anymore. They're not going to tolerate this. So I hope that the budget does not pass because it's a lame budget. It is. It's not a budget. It's just a report on how much more money they're going to spend, right? Their logic is if they keep it under 40 billion, then everything's just fine. We'll just increase the taxes and increase the carbon tax, and then someone can slap our asses and call us Judy, and they'll be fine, right? Everyone would just be happy. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? You're going into this budget with higher debt. You're encouraging more spending on these frivolous things to win favor with the voters. You did it with the carbon carve out in the East Coast. You gave Quebec a break on the federal tax when it comes to carbon taxes. Okay, they pay about 10 cents less than we do, which I just discovered from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Okay, and they eventually will pay 10 cents less. However, the government de Belle Province does what the hell it wants anyway. Okay, so this budget was nothing but bells and fucking whistles, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon my swearing, but I am one cranky, pissed off guy. Right? You get these people that are elected effective this past April 1st, they all got a raise. Backbenchers got $8,500 extra a year. Okay. The prime minister upped his ante about another 60 grand. And ministers and shadow ministers alike are getting a few more bucks. Okay. So it must be nice to get a basic salary of roughly anywhere from $15,000 to $19,000 a month to sit and piss away and tell us what to do with our money. Well, we know where our money's going. We do. We know where our money's going, and it's not going to pay off this debt. It's going to the yacht clubs and the have-ease of said government, you know. And you know what's funny is that Miss Freeland talked about how the inflation rate was 2.9% last month. Now, do you honestly think that 2.9% isn't going to go up anytime soon? Do you honestly think that something might happen? You know, more regulations, more red tape when it comes to what they did with our pipeline, when it comes to what they did with our military, our resources. You know, they brag about all the things they're doing for Ukraine, yet what are they doing for our troops? Oh, that's right. Smack my ass, call me Judy. They put tampons in the male washroom. Oh, boy. Oh. And is that going to make a difference on the world stage? Is that going to make a difference on the world stage anywhere? Especially our NATO allies. Okay. Now, I watched an interview there with Rick Hillier. I met him, General Rick Hillier. I met him in overseas back in 2007. Great guy, great leader. You know, there's some people who have different opinions about him and what he does. But to make a long story short, he's got a great plan when it comes to upgrading our military. Basically, fire a lot of the bureaucrats and get qualified people in there to pick and procure properly. Meaning it doesn't matter if this part's made here, this part's made here. Is it made in Canada or is it not made in Canada? Well, if it's not made in Canada, it doesn't matter. Does it work? Does it work? Good. Okay, get it. You know what I mean? Pragmatism, practicality. You know what I mean? It's too bad we don't have any leaders that actually have that. Just more bells and whistles, more show parades. You know, like they made a big deal this morning about CRUSTY Freeland buying a pair of shoes. You know, and I don't really give a fuck what tradition is in the House of Parliament with the finance minister buying a brand new pair of shoes. I really don't care. I think that's the last thing she effing worry about, you know, because her and Justin and other finance ministers and other cronies alike in that parliament, treasuries too, have made these decisions that have put a lot of Canadians on alert. They have enough to pay their bills this month. They have enough to have groceries. They have enough to get this, to get that. So basically, while they're sitting there saying they're doing us a favor, they're putting a lot of us Canucks in the fucking poorhouse. And it's time we stood up and said we had enough.
Stay updated and follow CRUSTY CANUCK on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Gentlemen, you're back to episode 271 of the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. I'm your host, CRUSTY CANUCK. And this episode, of course, on this beautiful 16th of April, 2024.
Federal budget of bullshit.
Exactly. That's all it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just smoke and mirrors, bells and whistles, tickle your fancy, tickle your ass with a feather, slap and tickle for your pickle and your wallet. That's all it is. What else is it? I remember budgets from the 90s where they actually had to budget something. Cut here, cut there to stay afloat, not to sink even more. So these cronies talking about how we're going to budget and we're benefiting everybody else. Like if you actually watch the whole CPAC broadcast of how CRUSTY Freeland delivered this budget, this great idea, this great knowledge of this great packet of information to help us, plebes get out there and spend more money to make sure that we save the trees and some teenage girls get some, birth control. Oh, that's basically the emphasis on it. Right? They worry about the pharmacare package they put together, the whole diabetic medication and birth control. That's it. How about medication for certain cancers? How about medication out there for certain ailments like asthma, Alzheimer's? How about medication for really depressed and hurting people? And I'm not saying freaking, fentanyl. I'm not saying cocaine or a safe supply. How about that? No, no. Let's worry about teenage girls not getting pregnant, even though there's many options out there for everybody not to get pregnant. It's a two-way street. Takes two to tango, right? Gone are the days where you keep blaming men saying, "Oh, he knocked me up." Well, you spread your legs. So, hello, what do you say about that? Well,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I have an infection in my ear.
yeah, exactly. That's just the government know-how, and it's the problems they focus on. Let's look for a problem and focus on it. Let's create a problem and focus on that, rather than finding a viable solution to help you and I, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's all they want to do, right? They don't give a royal rat's ass about you and I. Bottom line is they talk about the taxpayers. Oh, well, there's no new taxes to us. Okay. Well, they got a capital gains tax out there, meaning that if you're making roughly $250,000 or more a year, you got tucked away, you're going to have to pay tax on that or a profit or something. Basically, what it is, if you're super rich, you get taxed. Okay. Well, the super rich in this country who own industry, have shares in industry, they're probably just going to pack up and go if it becomes a ridiculous tax. That's how they roll. That's how rich people roll all the time. That's not my fault. That's not your fault, right? That's just how they operate. Okay. So chances are it's going to be a kick in the chuff for all of us again. Okay. Because carbon tax went up again this month and MP pay raises went up. And some bureaucrats, administrators alike, their pays went up too. And now you got certain workers and certain elements in airports, what have you, are going on strike, right? So when Miss Freeland talks about the whole, inflation is down by 2.9%. Well, it's only because you created a few government jobs and there's not enough productivity coming in to balance things. That's just my understanding of it. What say you? But we also know the old adage, crack don't smoke itself.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And one more time, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, episode 271. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, the federal budget of more BS or more bullshit. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. If you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe. Share this content all of your social media platforms too. And just a reminder too, ladies and gentlemen, I will do being episodes every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Too much. That's right. Trying to get 3 times out of the week here for you. Try to make a good 20 to 30-minute episode for you all out there. My wonderful fan base that's starting to get bigger. Thank you because of all you sharing and subscribing. Please keep it up. I don't care where you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Just share this podcast everywhere you can. You can also find my podcast on most podcast platforms too. And Podbean, that's my host page. Rumble, Spotify, Amazon, Supercast, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podchaser, and the Apple. Of course, the infamous Apple, or anywhere else you want to find your fine podcasts. So please just check out my show, share it all around, give me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to comment, please. Helps the algorithm, helps us Canadians, and especially our Canadian vets to get our words out there, to let people know that we've got a voice too, and we have to be heard just as much as those protesters do in every major city, especially those wankers that are stopping shipping ports and railways, all that stuff, all in the name of trying to find fairness, when really they're just pissing people off and upsetting the economy. But who am I anyway? Anyway, carrying on this episode. So the budget, the review is simple, just more BS. How else do you say it? It was a lot of regurgitated BS, the way she shakes her head, Mr. Speaker, her condescending tone. So it's safe to say that the majority of Canadians out there, and I'm starting to think a majority of parliamentarians too, are really starting to lose their shit with her. Honestly, are they really getting ahead? Right? So what annoys me the most too is that every liberal supporter, every liberal page, even on my Twitter feed, or my Twitter, X formerly known as Twitter, I'm seeing a lot of people blowharding really up the chuff about how this is going to help Canadians. How is going into debt helping people? Honestly, right? If a business goes into debt, what usually happens to said business? Does it go belly up? Does it go belly down? Does it get saved by the grace of whatever gods are out there to save us from a rainy day? No, it does not. Chances are it fails, or they have to lay off all their staff and rebrand somehow. How is this government going to rebrand the Canadian economy? Right? With this quote unquote budget of bullshit. Right? They're not. They don't have a plan to, because they're really stuck in this environmental thing. They're really stuck in this carbon tax, and they sit there and swear you get more money back. Well, how do you get more money back from a tax? Why don't you just leave us the hell alone? Right? Don't like your tone. You got it all wrong. I don't like how you're talking to my friend here. I don't like how you're talking to Canada here. You got it all wrong. You rip us off again, I'll stab you in the face with the soldering iron. Hey? A little bit of Christopher Walken there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I don't want to insult the man's integrity, but I think you get my point, right? What have we got to show for this great debt of ours? We've seen money go to China to help them with their coal, right? We've seen money go to Ukraine to help them with the war. You know, whatever other United Nations faction, the UNRWA people, apparently 12 of those individuals that worked for UNRWA in Palestine took part in the October 7th massacre, right? But we still give money to them, right? Because Canada is one friendly nation. We love our criminals, right? And speaking of criminals, I guess they had some arrests in Pearson today in regards to the gold that was stolen there last year. I think $20 million worth of gold was stolen out of Pearson Airport. Now, I've seen the security at Pearson many a time, and it's pretty tight. But something's a little coincidental there. Something's coinciding. Something's just not right. But they've arrested a few people, so we'll see how that comes later on in the day or tomorrow or in the headlines later on. But it's just interesting, right? Just interesting how that's working. And what I want you, my wonderful audience, to take away from this federal budget is that it's not a budget. It's smoke and mirrors, right? When I sit with my wife, we talk about where money's going. We both think alike when it comes to, okay, how much we're going to have left over by the end of the month? How much are we going to need for next month? What are we going to need for this bill? What are we going to need for that bill? Okay. And on average at my job, I'm working anywhere from 45 to 50 hours a week or more, depending on the situation. She's pulling in about 40 hours a week herself. She gets paid once a month and I get paid twice a month. Plus I get my pension. So with the taxes that come off my pension that I see every time, I still shake my head at the ridiculous taxes come off that. Okay, I still get the odd letter in the mail with the CRA telling me you owe this much more. Interest. Yeah, cool. Whatever. Just bullshit. Okay. And so we budget properly. How much have I got left? Now we don't go, we spend frivolously. We don't do that. We had to drop $5,000 in credit on a brand new furnace because we had that cold snap there last month, which kind of took us for a run. So we're trying to pay that off. But I think the most we really spend our money on is groceries and tobacco and gasoline. 3 of the biggest ticket items out there that the government's screwing us on and screwing a lot of people on. Okay. So when they talk about this federal budget and people use the argument the liberals have used, the whole, well, 8 out of 10 people are better off. Bullshit. If 8 out of 10 of people were better off, then why are there so many bloody tent cities around every major city in this country? And of course, to our friends in the States too, they're experiencing the same thing. Higher inflation, government spending, borrowing, government borrowing, government spending. And then what? Every middle-class person out there has to pay more every fiscal effing year. But 8 out of 10 are getting ahead, right? According to the finance minister and every liberal backbencher out there, right? See, the problem is that you're worrying about the exterior of the home. You're not worrying about the foundation. And every time you keep spending and spending and spending and spending and spending on virtue, you crack that foundation and you tarnish the home. So when people say, oh, Canada's not broken, I beg to differ.
Stay updated and follow CRUSTY CANUCK on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And a special mention out there to my friends Clyde Do Something, Marty up north, Vesper, the fine couple, Northern Perspective, Radio Reaction, and Moose on the Loose, not to mention a few other lads that I have watched recently. You guys have great shows. Keep up the content. To my friends at Veterans for Freedom, keep up the good work, gentlemen, and try to catch your podcast when I can. The schedule has just been hectic, but just a reminder too, I will be on. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday too. I'm trying to aim between 8:30 and 9 o'clock for it to be broadcast, so that way everybody gets a chance to watch it before they go to bed or what they got to do to their routine. I go to bed pretty early during the week because I'm up at 4-ish to get to work for 6. So just to keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. So just a reminder too, every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, you will see the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. There'll be no more Tuesday rants or Thursday fastballs or special gimmicks until I post otherwise too. So times will vary, but try to catch the show around 8:30-ish, 9-ish on those following days. Okay. And if you do want to donate, please consider donating too. I do have links in my description to help with donations, to help financially if you can. I'm not going to demand cash, but I'm getting more and more people watching, and I would like to see the fruits of my labors come to fruition. But it takes wonderful people like you to make that happen too, ladies and gentlemen. If I can get a consistent donation every month, it doesn't matter if I get 20 people or 30 people or 40 people, and they give $1 or $20 or $5 or $2 an episode, I don't mind. Whatever you can. I just want to get some consistency up without selling myself short, without having to show off my privates like some people do, or lie, or cheat, or steal. I'm just trying to be honest and trying to get ahead in this game, just like you and I are too. But just to give me a hand if you can too. So donate what you can. If not, that's fine too. But the options are there in the description too. Anyway, carrying on with this episode of 271 CRUSTY CANUCK podcast, more and more of the ridiculous and ever so entertaining
Federal budget of bullshit.
Yeah. I used the same thing last year, and that's all it is. Because it took them the longest time to actually get a budget up and running, ladies and gentlemen. It did. It took him a sweet time to get a budget because when he got in, when the Trudeau Liberals and his parody group got in back in 2015, they never, promised great things. They said sunny ways, but they only run a deficit of 10 billion. Now, if any government wants to get into power and run a deficit, there should be something a little more important to run the deficit on, rather than just virtue and helping the less fortunate around the world. Again, these clowns think that because of their carbon taxes and their stern environmental policies, they're going to save the world, when we both know they're not. Okay, they're not going to save the world. They're going to rob me and you blind, and they're going to go to the bank and play with their ass hairs and tickle each other with feathers and have a good time at our expense. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I see it, because I don't see any real concrete progress when it comes to the environment. They talk about wind turbines and solar, but to my friends here in Alberta and in the rest of Western Canada, and to my friends in Texas that are listening, what happened when there was reliance on the grid based on wind turbine and solar? What happened? Bueller? Freezing? No? Brownouts, blackouts, anyone? Yeah, it didn't work because it wasn't generating enough electricity. They didn't have the power cells to generate the electricity to accommodate the grid. But these clowns in Ottawa still think it's going to work. It's going to happen. How come there's no innovations when it comes to tides, when it comes to ocean tides? They're consistent. Tides are consistent every day, more so than what the wind is, and more so than what the sun is. So you can thank the moon for that, right? If I understand my basic astronomy, talk about space and stuff. Oh, my goodness. But I think you get my point. Why don't they put some kind of tender in to create proper tide generation? You can make those turbines without upsetting the fish or whales or any kind of migratory species whatsoever. You can make them safe, make them efficient, and generate enough clean electricity to help a lot of people. I would say more so than wind turbines or solar. Because at least if you get a cold snap, you still have current going back and forth, north and south, east and west, that's generating those turbines, providing power to any coastal town or city or coastal area, or creating enough electricity to put in the transmitters to transmit it all over the place, right? But, what do we know? Common sense. Oh, who the hell's got time for that shit? Hey? Can't have that. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I have been CRUSTY CANUCK on this beautiful Tuesday, 16th of April, 2024. I wish nothing but good things for you all out there. I'm not going to rant anymore about the BS from our government because we're starting to see the light. They keep trying to create this manufactured darkness, but you and I see the light, ladies and gentlemen. You and I see the light, and let's keep fighting for that light. Let's keep fighting hard, right? I encourage you all out there. And I don't care what your MP is or who he is or who she is or how they identify. You write them a letter, emails, handwritten letters, phone calls, saying this budget is garbage. This government is garbage. We're asking you to stand down. We're asking you to do something about it. We're asking you to fight harder in Parliament to get some proper concrete results. And it's going to take people like me and you to make that happen. To my American listeners, same thing too. If your congressman or your representation is failing, get on their asses big time, right? Same thing as my German listeners out there too. Get on your representative. Get on the people in German Parliament and say enough is enough. Let's start using some common sense. Let's invest in nuclear. Let's invest in Canadian LNG and tell our government to start putting up or shutting up. Like I said, I've been CRUSTY CANUCK this beautiful 16th of April, 2024. I wish nothing but good things for you out there. Do what you can. Summer is coming, so brace yourself. There'll be more climate warnings again. My goodness. Even though most of us just call it summer, right? Pretty shit simple. Anyhow, do what you can. Help you out in these trying times, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a few extra canned goods or something, give it to a food bank. Help people out, and just try to be good to people as best your ability. That's all I can ask you to do. That's all I can say. We will overcome these endeavors, and we'll do our best to shine, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. And like I always say, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you this Friday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.